Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another episode of This Week in Kyrix. Today is Wednesday, November 28th, 2018. And oh man, has it been an eventful week. Yeah, I need more wood if I'm going to do the thing that I'm going to do. But anyway, first and foremost, I have at this point finished recording Let's Play XCOM 2, which was a pretty sizable game, really. I think I got 37, 38 episodes. Sorry, something like that. 37 to 38 episodes. So, got quite a bit done out of it. It was pretty eventful, fairly involved, that kind of thing. Let's see. So, on top of that, I finished recording Let's Play Shantae Half Genie Hero. Though, in this case, finished is a bit misleading, as the game isn't completely finalized at this point. I recorded the story mode of Let's Play Shantae Half Genie Hero. Let's see here. I still have to do the Friends Forever and all the other fun shit involved in Shantae. So, that's not even close to what I would refer to as finished. And then, of course, that's just the recording section. That doesn't even count the co-commentary, which is, of course, a big part of Shantae. Whee, out the window I go. But yeah, the actual gameplay for the main storyline is done. But of course, there's also all the DLC that I have to do and a couple other things. So, done is a relative term. And the plans are, of course, to do all 4 Shantae games and do the... Sorry, just woke up. Do the co-commentary portion in chronological order, so the game I recorded first will in fact be the last game we actually tackle. But the recording itself is out of the way. Now, of course, nothing's really going to get done on the game until such time as my new laptop arrives, because that is what I will start doing all of my bullshit on. And there is quite a bit to cover, just in general, even beyond that. Like, first off, we're finally getting a new roommate, allegedly. I won't trust it until the guy actually moves in. Apparently, it's my roommate's cousin who will be moving in. Who, I've never met the guy, but like I told him, as long as he isn't mean to the pets and doesn't eat my fucking food, I don't care. You know? But in having a new roommate, my prices go down, suddenly freeing up quite a bit of extra money for me. Which means I will go from struggling this month to doing pretty goddamn well. Also, I have been fairly successful in talking the roommate into basically selling me the PS4. Nothing will come of it for a couple of months, because he still intends to loan it out to his ex-girlfriend so she can play a video game. But once that's done, you know, odds are pretty good that I will be owning the PS4 myself. Although I did talk him into waiting until after my laptop arrives, and he said, oh, it won't happen until around Christmas time anyway. So, that's good. So basically, around Christmas time, I will be transitioning away from doing this game for this week in Kyrix into doing another game, hopefully something like going back to Stardew Valley, or playing some other game of that sort. I don't know, I might do Civ 5, something like that. You know, it remains to be seen. And there was another breakthrough on the Shantae field, actually, because just for random shits and giggles, I was looking up what the price was for a cartridge of the original Shantae for the Game Boy Color. And I'm expected to see this thing going for like 50, 60 bucks just because it's kind of not like a mainstream game, and it probably wasn't super popular, even though now the series is kind of a big deal. Like, it's got 3 sequels. And it turns out I can get the game for the low price of about $10 to $15. That includes shipping. It just happens to be shipping from Asia. So, odds are good. Rather than finding a ROM for this game, like I thought I would, because I figured the game's so damn obscure, I will be using a physical cartridge in my GameCube. So I will be using legit copies for all 4 Shantae games, because I own the other 3 on the PS4. So that's kind of cool. And then, what else? So yeah, I've covered Shantae, covered the PS4 itself, covered XCOM. So yeah, I've actually been getting quite a bit done recording-wise, just because it's kind of fucking time for that, you know? It's just time that I start getting shit done. So, Pokemon was today, and it turns out that everyone thought that the tournament in question was going to be next week. So I ended up basically only having one battle that wasn't even a gym battle. It was just me having fun with my Steel-type team, my gym leader team. And I'll find out next week just how effective they really are. But man, my Steel-type team has become so fun, because the strategy I built around it actually works pretty well. Or at least it does when the opponent doesn't lead with a fire type. Because that tends to shut it down. Or at least shut down my initial strategy. Sorry again, pretty damn fast. But yeah, I've had issues convincing the roommate about why I want the PS4. You know, because he's like, well, you don't need to buy it. I'm like, well, dude, you want to loan the thing out and I don't want you to. And I mentioned, well, you mentioned you might get a new PS4 and loan that to her, etc. And he's like, well, there's no reason to have 2 of them. I'm like, well, here's the thing. I want to have a PS4 that I don't have to wait on, you know? He's like, because you can use this one or whatever. I'm like, no, I can use this one when you leave the house, or when you're asleep, etc. I can't just play. And I certainly can't just record. Like, sometimes I'll be playing a round of 7 days, and a couple times I've been on it for like 5 or 10 minutes, and suddenly he wakes up, or comes home, he's like, okay, I'm on the TV now, because he wants to watch football, or hockey, or just whatever, you know. And at which point I'm just done. No ifs, ands, or buts, I'm just done. And it's one thing to do that when I'm just playing recreationally. Like, it's just, oh, just me playing 7 days for shits and giggles. Not a big deal. But other times, it's like, oh, well, I want to record This Week in Kyrix, or I want to record Shantae, or I want to record Jurassic World, which is a Let's Play I have scrapped, by the way. I got one recording of Let's Play Jurassic World, and maybe it was just the situation at the time, but I just was not feeling it at all. My commentary was crap the whole time. The cats kept escaping. Basically, situations arose that made it not good. So I'm going to erase the one episode I have. I've actually already put it back in the mailbox to go back to Gamefly because I found out that Subnautica is finally coming to the PS4, and it will be releasing on December 4th, and I want to get on that. I want to be on the opening release run of Subnautica because I've watched Markiplier play that, and it just looks like a game I would really like to play. To the point where I could very well see myself using that as my new This Week in Kyrix game when I have the PS4 to myself. Because that's the thing, is I told the roommate I want a PS4 that I could just take in the room. Because I've asked him a couple times if I could just take it in the room and work on a project, if he's going to have it for like football Sunday or something, if he's going to be on the TV. And he's like, no, I don't want it connected and reconnected, because that tends to get shit loose, you know. And I pointed out that with the new roommate coming in, I might have even less time. Because for all I know, when the roommate goes to work or goes to sleep, he might want to come out here and watch shit on the big TV. You know. Or maybe he will also want to play the PS4. At which point, I'm just kind of shit out of luck, you know. And I just don't want that to be the situation I find myself in. And for whatever reason, my roommate can't seem to fathom that scenario. And I've had to spell out a couple times, and he finally got it. It's like, look, I want to have access to this thing. I want to have it in my room so I can do recordings and shit, because I'm working on shit with the PS4. And right now, the timeshare thing just is not conducive for that. Matter of fact, if I didn't need the laptop so badly, that's one of the things I was planning to do for Black Friday, is get a PS4. Because that was the first idea that I'm like, no, I'll get a Switch. And then I'm like, no, I need a laptop, you know. And the laptop's what I settled on. But, yeah, I finally convinced him. I'm like, look, dude, I want to buy this thing. I want to, you know, give you some money, and the PlayStation 4 becomes mine, because he never plays the goddamn thing. That's why he has no issues loaning it out, because he's almost never on the damn thing. I, on the other hand, am. And I would be on it even more if I actually owned it. And I've explained that's another thing where I have returned games because I had so little time to actually work on them that I just said fuck it and, you know, sent them back. Like Vampire I was having a lot of fun with, and then there was this period of like 2 months where I couldn't get out here at all because he was either sleeping out here or I just went to bed before he did and woke up after he did, you know. So I spent so long not playing Vampire that I completely lost the thread and just said, fuck it, we're done. You know, maybe I'll play it again someday, but this run is dead, you know. And that's happened with a couple games that I've rented where I just couldn't get out here to play them, and eventually returned them unfinished, and that's disheartening. You know, I want to be able to beat a lot of these games, and I'd like to record a lot more of them. Especially now that I have the means to do that. So, it basically sums up thus, you know. And I basically told him, like, look, I want to do this. And next month, the next couple months actually, are probably going to be good for me financially. because I'm going to tell him that I have no problem paying for the PS4, but right now, there's no sense in putting money on shit that's not going to be in the house for 2 fucking months. You know, so if he wants payment on this thing immediately, then he has to get a different PS4 to loan her. And otherwise, I'll start making payments on this when it finally comes back to the house, you know. But my quest to get the PS4 has been partially successful in that there will be a period of like 2 months where it will not be here. And then the rest of the time it'll be in my room, you know. Because that's the other thing he said that was kind of silly as well. I do want the PS4 out here. I'm like, well, I don't, because it's not doing me any good out here. Because right now, my voice is pitched low because he has all the doors open inside the house, except obviously the front doors. But all the inside the house doors open to soak up the outside breeze because he's got the attic fan on, you know. So, sound carries. So I have this turned low, I have my voice pitched low, etc. Whereas if I were in my room, I could just shut my door and be as loud as I fucking want, because he can't hear me on this other side of the house. And from what he tells me, the new roommate will spend most of his time out of the house. Of course, then again, that's what he thought. He thought that I would spend most of my time in the house, and it turns out I'm outside a sizable portion of the time. But hey. But yeah, I eventually managed to convince him that, hey, I do need a console in my room so that I don't have to do all this timeshare bullshit. I want to know that when he has company coming over for football or soccer or to go to a concert or whatever, that I don't have to just stop what I'm doing, that I can just either binge whatever game I've got, you know, distracting me at the time, or that I can actually record shit. Because right now, just using Shantae as an example, I have to play the game twice. I have to go on my main file to practice the actual level, and then I have to go into the game itself to do it and record it, you know. And I have to do that for 3 different games, one of which has a fuckload of DLC. Like, just using Half Genie Heroes as an example, I have to do Beach Mode, Ninja Mode, Officer Mode, Jammies Mode, Risky Mode, and French Forever Mode. That's 6 DLCs. I have to beat that game 6 fucking times. But in reality, I have to do it twice, so I have to beat it 12 times just to get all the footage I need. Think about that for a minute. 12 times, 1 game. And that's just what I gotta do. So, yeah. And then, of course, there's Risky's Revenge, which is the sequel game, which I need to figure out where everything is so I can 100% that. And then, you know, grind that out. Then I have to do, Pirate's Curse is easy. I've actually 99%ed Pirate's Curse before. I've 99%ed Half Genie Hero before the recording because I didn't realize in both cases that I needed to buy something in Pirate's Curse. I just didn't buy it because I'm like, I don't need this. But it turns out that was the missing 1%. And in Half Genie Hero, during my own playthrough, I didn't realize you had to swap for all the dances at one point, and I never got the Blobfish dance. I just kept Obliterate. Whereas in Half Genie Hero, I swapped for Blobfish and then went back to Obliterate, and I got 100%. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. I mean, can you imagine only being able to do that shit at night? You know? I mean, let's say for example, I get a call tomorrow from vocational rehab saying, "Hey, Kyrix, we found a job for you. Here's your interview, etc. We'll be a reference for you." And then I get the job, and I'm working the night shift when he goes to sleep. and then suddenly I have no PS4 time. You know? What happens then? So yeah, it's just a case of... And I even told him, I'm like, I'm not adverse at all to sharing this. If you get, let's say, in 2019, if you get like, oh, this is FIFA 2019, I would really like to play this. I'm like, I'll wheel it out here for you to play it for a little while. You can have your fun. I'm a good guy. I'll share that kind of thing, you know. Right. While dirt is important, I'm actually looking for clay right now. Clay is one of those resources that the sooner you find it, the better. And it can be a bitch and a half to find, but it almost always occurs in huge quantities. So once you find it, you just have a clay pit that you will just dig the fuck out of. Now, the reason I'm not digging down is most of the time clay occurs really close to the surface. So if you don't find it in the first 3 layers or so of dirt, you're not going to find it at all. Okay, we're going to scrap and rebuild this shovel completely. But yeah, I've done my best to convince him that it's kind of paramount for me to have the PS4. Because he's at the point where he's not going to play it anymore, really. I mean, there's the odd game or something that's going to catch his fancy, but he's flat out said he doesn't really play it anymore. And he's mentioned a couple times just wanting to get rid of it. And I'm like, dude, get rid of it in my direction. Sell it to me. Because I want it, and I will pay you for it. And selling it to me has the advantage of A, having access to it while I pay it off, and B, having access to it once I own it. Where you don't have to contact whoever you sold it to and say, hey, can I borrow this? I'd really like to play this game. You could just say, hey, can you bring it out into the front room for a couple of days while I learn this game? I'm like, sure, man. Alright, so there's not going to be any clay in here. I am going to swipe some more dirt because I'll need that later for farming. Man, you should see the main area that I have in mind right now. It's all built on adobe and concrete pillars. And it's all vertical, so it's like 10 plus squares up, depending on, you know, the terrain that it's standing on, because it's kind of on a hill. And there's like 4 huge farming platforms, and there's my house, and there's a storage area, and there's a tower that accesses the house via a drawbridge that I can shut for when I finally turn zombies back on. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about the prospect of having a PS4 finally. Because I do have several games for it already. And odds are pretty good that I will be buying Subnautica when it comes in. I mean, unless the game just is completely hyped and it just doesn't live up to itself when I finally play it, odds are I'm going to be pretty attached to the game and I'm going to want to keep it. And if things arrange themselves well enough, I will use my 2 coupons that I will have at the start of December to do the Keep It feature. I think they kick in at like the 4th or the 5th, maybe the 6th. But if they kick in when that game is being shipped to me, because they'll have long, the first one will have long since expired by the time it gets to me. But if they both kick in while it's in transit to me, rest assured I will hit the Keep It feature and pick that game up. And part of me really wants, as much fun as this game is, part of me really wants to do Subnautica as well as a This Week in Kyrix game. I mean, there are multiple options for that game, all of which have their own unique appeal. Like I could do Don't Starve. I could do Death Road to Canada. I could play board games for a while. You know, that kind of thing. There's a lot of fun things in the horizon. One of Eisen's friends hooked me up with a program that should, allegedly at least, help me shrink video file sizes. Specifically the Shantae video file sizes. So that I can make them more manageable. And then likely do the same thing with XCOM and whatnot. And that, I'm waiting until the new laptop arrives to do anything with that. And on top of that, I might be able to get some extra from my mom and aunt at the start of next month to pick up a nice little double tera external hard drive that I saw on sale for about $60. Which, if I get that thing, assuming the thing I ordered from an online thing that is supposed to be a terabyte or double terabyte thumbnail stick, which I don't think is accurate. And my friend also allegedly got, as he put it, scammed by. Basically what I'm expecting is I'm going to get the thing, it's going to be inaccurate, and I'm going to get my money back. You know? That's the order of events that I'm 90% certain is going to happen. But if I'm wrong, and I miraculously did find a 1 to 2 terabyte stick, oh boy. But when I get that double tera, I want to store my Let's Plays on it, just exclusively. That'll just be the thing where my Let's Plays live from then on out. Now, sometimes clay looks different. The problem is, I don't know if it's the coloring, or my inability to distinguish the coloring, or if it's the shading, or what, but I cannot fucking tell clay from normal dirt half the time. And it really pisses me off. Fine, we'll try this. In case you're wondering why it's here, I think I've read somewhere ages ago that clay tends to spawn near water. This is near water, but it is obviously not clay. So yeah, clay is a thing that I could literally spend entire sessions for week after week after week looking for and never find. And it's something I could stumble across completely by fucking accident. Because I've done that too. Wait, what? Oh, okay, that was just the light hitting it. So, yeah. So that's the other problem with this, is that, that's another thing in favor of Subnautica, is, as I understand, resources don't spawn quite as randomly in that game. So I won't have issues, for example, finding, you know, crafting materials. It's just, oh, if I go to this area, the crafting material will be there. Meanwhile, even if I go to the place where clay is likely to be, that doesn't mean I will find clay. Because there is a lot of fucking dirt here. Clay tends to exist in dirt, but which dirt? I mean, even if you look at the dirt just near my yard area, that's a rather huge swath of yard. Forward to Subnautica. I'm looking forward to finding out what my freebies next month are. Because I know I get 2 free PS4 games minimum a month. But there's also PS3 games that I get that are sometimes really cool. Like, apparently ages ago I got Dead Space 3. I don't know how or why that happened, but it did. So, actually, one of the contenders for a rental when the roommate loans out this PS4, if I can't talk him into getting a different one to loan her, is that I will rent Dead Space 1 and 2 and do those as Let's Plays. And if for some reason Gamefly runs out of them by then, I will just try and pick up a cheap copy online. Because I did start a Let's Play of the PC version of Dead Space ages ago, which I suppose I technically still own if I can find out where the fuck Gamefly put it. Because Gamefly used to have this game streaming / download service, and in it I had a couple games. One of them was Dead Space. But they've since canceled that, but as far as I know, the game is still a thing. Like somewhere ages ago, it's like, oh, if you want your games, you can still find them here, and I just didn't ever bother downloading again. I'm like, no, I'd rather have a full-on console version of this. So, yeah, once I get Dead Space 1, 2, and 3, I will do blind runs of all of them, because it's been years since the last time I attempted Dead Space 1. I didn't get more than like an hour and a half into it. I think I got 4, maybe 5 episodes tops into the game. I have since forgotten pretty much all of it. But I want to do Dead Space, I want to do Dead Space 2, I own Dead Space 3. Those are just games to add to my library, that kind of thing. Once I get it in the mail, I want to do all of Shantae, like I said. I want to start getting Half Genie Hero shit out of the way. Like, I want to do Friends Forever. Like, tonight, I want to start recording that. And then I want to do the risky stuff. And then I want to start doing the bonus modes. Like, I want to do Pajama mode, I want to do Ninja mode, I want to do Beach mode. And I've actually almost beaten the game in Pajama mode, and I've almost 100%ed it in Pajama mode, so that's not that big a deal. The one that's really going to get me is Officer mode, because A, some of those jumps are a bitch and a half, and B, rather than just needing to find 3 Dream Squids per level, I'm looking for like 5 to 7 space hooligans. Basically every single non-Shantae female character in the game in space gear. So like I gotta find Sky and Roddy Tops and Risky and Twitch and Vinegar. You know, so there's like 5 girls every level. And that gets kind of tricky after a while. And add to that the fact of Tasseltown Map 2 trying to outrun Wilbur while getting all these girls and managing my health is just a bitch and a half. And I could take the easy way out and just load them in, like, oh, I'm going to beat 2/3 of this, and then I'm going to switch to another map, and it'll save all my girls, and then go back in and beat it clean. No, that's the pussy way to do it, and I don't want to do it that way. So, it's going to involve a lot of switching back and forth between profiles, and I don't want to do that, but it's kind of what I have to do it right. No. But yeah, it'll give us something to do, since lately, for the past couple weeks, Eisen's had some personal shit to deal with. I don't remember what he said, if it was a work thing or a home thing or what. But our current recording project's been on hiatus for the better part of 3 weeks now. Maybe longer. It all kind of blurs together sometimes. So that kind of opens the door to do all the Shantae stuff. And once I have, you know, Shantae 1 recorded, honestly, I think Shantae 1 will be the last one I get recorded. So, I'm probably going to have half Genie Hero done in its entirety first. Then I'm going to do Pirate's Curse because I've actually beaten that one and close enough to 100%ed it. Then I want to do Risky's Revenge, which I'm doing more or less blind, and I've got 100% that. And then I'll go back and do Shantae and 100% that, you know. There's a lot of little side projects I gotta do. When the new laptop arrives, one of the recording projects I'll be working on is Star Ocean, the second story. That's gonna take up a lot of my time. That might very well take up 2 or 3 months of time just by itself. So, I mean, honestly, while the PS4 is loaned out to the roommate's ex, I'm probably going to be engrossed in Star Ocean, and I probably won't even notice. But, nonetheless, it's just kind of the principle of the thing. Oh, I actually have Christmas plans for the first time in a while. I got a phone call from my mother the other day, basically asking me what I'm doing for Christmas, because, you know, Thanksgiving for the past, I don't know, 5 years, my policy has just been to go to my friend's house and have Thanksgiving with him and his family. It was something he started years ago, around about the times he got off house arrest, where he just decided, hey, I have a lot of friends who really don't have anywhere to go on Thanksgiving. Their families, for whatever reason, won't, you know, hang out with them, or maybe they live away from their families, or whatever. And I actually fell in that category a lot, because Mom would spend a lot of time in the hospital around the holidays, or she'd be in the nursing home recovering from a hospital time. So, the past couple of years when I was living with her, I was home alone a lot of times, and he's like, hey, if you want, me and these people are all going to be at my house doing Thanksgiving and doing Christmas dinner and all that, and you're more than welcome to come. You don't need to bring anything, but I did. Like, I brought ham one time, I think. And so it's just been my thing, and when he moved in with his, at the time, girlfriend, they invited me over, and it's kind of funny how shy I can be food-wise when I'm invited to a new thing. She had to keep shoveling food onto my plate. And then the past 2 or 3 years, when I went back, I just get food, you know. Because as I told her, I'm like, hey, you had me over here once, you know what to expect. So the gloves are off, you know. But anyway, she asked me, hey, what are your plans for Christmas? And I'm like, well, I don't really have any Christmas plans. And she's like, well, do you and one of your friends, she named one in specific, I'm not going to get into details right now, do you want to come and have dinner here with us? And I'm like, is that even allowed? She's like, yeah, we're allowed to have 2 guests each year. If I'd have known last year, I'd have invited you then, but I just found out. I'm like, oh, okay. So I invited the friend she mentioned, but in order for him to have Thanksgiving off, he had to work Christmas, so he's not an option. So my second choice was to ask the friend I have Thanksgiving with. And I even told him, I'm like, hey, I already asked him, he couldn't make it. And near as I can tell, he didn't have a problem with that, because all my friends know the pecking order, that particular friend I invited first is a guy I've known for 35 fucking years. You know, 30 years or so. So they all know that's not even a competition. But he's like, yeah, I'll have to get back to you. I gotta see what my schedule is, but I'm definitely interested in going. So, odds are pretty good he'll be having Christmas dinner with me and Mom at the nursing home. And she's like, well, I don't know what they're feeding us. I'm like, well, it beats the nothing I've already got planned. You know? So, I have Christmas dinner plans. That'll be nice. But, yeah, it's been a pretty eventful week, all things considered. And, hopefully things will keep going my way. think I already covered the movies. No, I wouldn't have covered the movies, because Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, I ended up seeing my Thanksgiving spread. I saw Creed 2 in the morning, then around nighttime I went and saw, what's it called? I saw Robin Hood, and then I saw Wreck-It Ralph 2. And the reason I thought that I talked about this already is because I mentioned them at the tail end of XCOM, because I was on the final mission of XCOM. So the last two levels of, or the last two videos of XCOM 2 were done, like, Thanksgiving Day or something like that, because what happened was I said, hey, if I finish this by this amount of time, I'm going to go and I'm going to watch my movie, which was going to be Robin Hood, because I didn't want to have to fuck around on Thanksgiving Day and see movies. And it turns out that the episode was going to take longer than I thought, so I just said fuck it, hit the save file in between the recordings, and just went. And then I came back and discussed the movies. I actually went and saw Wreck-It Ralph a second time, not because the movie was good, although it was, but because I had one of my extremely rare, but rather obsessive bouts of what I call paranoia. Is it snowing here, or is it just foggy? I think it's just foggy. But the paranoia was, I'm sitting there, around 3/4 of the way through Robin Hood, and my brain's like, dude, your house caught fire. I'm like, my house didn't catch fire. My brain's like, no, dude, I think your house caught fire. So I'm sitting there the whole time trying to finish Robin Hood with my brain telling me, dude, the house is on fire, all your stuff is burnt up, and the cats and dog are all dead. I'm like, no, they're not. Because it's silly. Even if that was the case, there's no way I would just know that, you know? And my brain was not letting go of that thought. So, throughout all of Wreck-It Ralph, I'm sitting there with that in the back of my fucking head, and it will not go away. I know it's bullshit, but my brain's still chewing on it like a dog with a fucking rawhide. You know, it's just not... It's just taking up space in my head, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I stuck around for the mid-credit sequence of Wreck-It Ralph, and then, as you would, I got the fuck out of there. And then I confirmed later on that, hey, there was an after credits Wreck-It Ralph sequence, and I should probably go back and see that now that I have reclaimed my sanity, in as much as I'm capable of doing such a thing. So I went back and saw it again, and on the way home I ran into someone who was also, you know, getting their bike ready, and we just basically rode almost to my front doorstep just talking movies the whole way home, which was kind of nice. And I told her, hey, you ought to get the A-list, it's a really cool system, because I've just become a total AMC shill. And I'm like, hey, since you see so many movies, you might want to do A-list, because you have access to everything. You have IMAX, D-Box, 3D, all that fun shit, for free, you know. One of my friends' Thanksgiving guests who lives in Tampa actually got the same advice, because they were going to go see Bohemian Rhapsody, and I mentioned that, and he's like, oh, I live near an AMC. I'm like, well, the other ones around are in Tampa. He's like, oh, I live in Tampa. I'm like, oh, well then, get A-list. He's like, dude, I'm getting A-list. I'm like, you should. It's an awesome deal. But yeah, it's fun. I've got a lot of things to be excited about coming in December, not the least of which is my actual birthday. I'm actually super excited to get these collars for the cats. I'm wondering if that's going to be an actual Christmas present, or if I can get them when I meet up with my aunt, or what, because the sooner I get those collars, the sooner I can put their tags on the collars and get them registered on getmehome.com. which is something I'm super psyched about because all of my girls are chipped, but their chips are not necessarily up to date. And let's be honest, I only know about chipping because I worked at a shelter. The average person, when they find a cat, isn't going to think, oh, I'm going to take them to the vet and see if they have a microchip, you know? So if one of my girls gets out and someone finds them and here they are with no collar, because it's probably going to be one of the cats and not the dog, then they might not think to take them to the vet and run their microchip. So it won't matter if their chip's up to date. But if they've got a collar with a little tag from getmehome.com jingling, they're going to see that tag, see that it links to a website, put in the data, and I'll get my girls back, you know? So that's just how I'm hoping the order of operations will be. Now, whether that's true or just wishful thinking on my part, that remains to be seen. But, it's better than nothing, you know? It's better than losing them because you had nothing going on at all. Alright, let's shred those. This will be done in another 8 seconds. And then it can also go in the fridge, because that's where you keep your brass. In the fucking fridge. There we go. Yeah, I'm kind of miffed. On my own playthrough, I had a thing where, I'm sitting here wondering when it's going to let me, when I'm going to find an ammo recipe, only to discover that it was something I had to buy. You know? That's a thing. That's also a thing. And this could be a thing as soon as I get more points again. But I'm not worried about it because I don't really have a working forge. I mean, I have access to one, but I don't have any clay to make it run. So anyway, we're going to call it right here, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.